For centuries, your so-called religions have glorified poverty as if it were a virtue. But I tell you, poverty is a crime against humanity. Jesus was not a man of the cross or a man of sadness. He was a man of the feast, a lover of life, who wanted you to live in absolute abundance. Unless you are rich on the outside, you will struggle to find the grandeur of the richness that lies within. Stop worshipping your misery, for the kingdom of God belongs to those who live like kings, not beggars. I am here to bring you a new message. Jesus wanted you rich, both in gold and in soul. Hello, my beloved friends. I want to talk to you today about something that has been deeply misunderstood for 2000 years. It is about a man named Jesus, but not the Jesus you find in the dusty halls of the Vatican or the cold stone churches of the world. I want to talk to you about the real Jesus, the man who loved life, the man who laughed, the man who wanted you to be more than just a survivor. He wanted you to be rich. Now, when I say rich, do not think I am only talking about your bank account. That is a very small kind of richness. But do not think I am excluding it either. This is the trick the priests have played on you. They told you that to be spiritual, you must be a beggar. They told you that the poor in spirit are the ones who inherit the earth. But look at the earth. Who is inheriting it? Those who are alert, those who are creative, those who are willing to expand. Before we dive into this deep ocean of truth, I want to invite you to join this journey with me. If you find value in these reflections, consider subscribing to this channel. And if you feel a deep resonance with what I am sharing, you can support this work by clicking the join button to become a part of our inner circle, or by using the super thanks feature. This helps us continue to spread these seeds of awareness. Also, for those who want to go deeper into my vision, our collection of ebooks is available to guide you through the mysteries of the soul. Listen carefully. For centuries, the image of Jesus has been painted as a man of sorrows. Look at the crucifix, a man bleeding, dying, suffering. This has been the centerpiece of your religion. But I tell you, this is a crime against humanity. By making Jesus a man of sorrow, the church has made you feel that sorrow is holy. They have taught you that poverty is a virtue. Why? because a poor man is a submissive man. A hungry man can be easily manipulated. A man who thinks his suffering is a test from God will never rebel against the injustice of the world. But Jesus was not a man of sorrow. He was a man of celebration. There is a beautiful story in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 9. The disciples of John the Baptist came to Jesus. Now John the Baptist was an ascetic. He was the old type of saint, the one who lives in the desert, eats locusts, and fasts until his bones sow. His disciples were very serious people. They came to Jesus and asked, "Why do we and the Pharisees fast often, but your disciples do not fast?" Look at Jesus' answer. It is one of the most revolutionary things ever said in the history of human consciousness. He said, "Can the children of the bride chamber mourn as long as the bridegroom is with them? But the days will come when the bridegroom shall be taken from them, and then shall they fast." Jesus is calling himself a bridegroom. He is saying that life while he is with them is a wedding. A wedding is not a time for fasting. A wedding is a time for feasting. A wedding is a time for music, for dance, for wine, for the best clothes, for the most delicious food. He was telling his disciples, "I am here. The divinity is present. Celebrate. Don't be miserable." This is what I mean by being rich. To be rich means to have the capacity to celebrate. If you are a billionaire but you cannot laugh, you are a beggar. If you have nothing in your pocket but your heart is dancing with the wind, you are a king. But, and this is a big but, why choose? Why not be a king in both worlds? I have always taught you about Zorba the Buddha. Zorba is the man of the earth. He loves his wine, he loves his dance, he loves his women. He is grounded, he is material, he is rich in his senses. The Buddha is the man of the sky. He is silent, he is meditative, he is rich in his soul. My vision of the new man, the Homo novus, is a man who is both. A man who can enjoy the finest things the world has to offer and yet remain untouched by them in his inner silence. Jesus was a Zorba. He was staying in the houses of the rich. He was eating with the tax collectors and the sinners. He was not hiding in a cave. He was in the marketplace. He was transforming the water into wine. Think about it. Why wine? Why not water into orange juice? Because wine is a symbol of intoxication, of let go, of ecstasy. He was saying that life should be lived at its maximum intensity. If you are enjoying this perspective, please take a moment to hit the like button and share this video with someone who is struggling with the guilt of wanting a better life. Your comments are the lifeblood of this community. Tell me, what does richness mean to you? Is it peace? Is it abundance? Or is it both? I read your thoughts and they help me shape these talks. The problem with the old religions is that they were based on either or. Either you are a materialist or you are a spiritualist. This created a split in the human soul. It made you schizophrenic. If you went for money, you felt guilty that you were losing your soul. If you went for the soul, you lived in poverty and felt resentful toward those who were enjoying life. I tell you, be total. Jesus said it is like a mustard seed, smaller than all seeds, but when it falls on the tilled earth, it produces a large tree and becomes shelter for all the birds of heaven. Look at the metaphor of the mustard seed. Does it stay small? No. Its destiny is to become a large tree. Growth is the law of nature. Expansion is the law of God. To stay small, to stay poor, to stay limited is a sin against your own potential. The mustard seed does not say, "Oh, I want to remain humble and tiny so I can be spiritual." It uses the soil, it uses the water, it uses the sunlight, it uses all the material resources of the earth to explode into a giant tree. That is what I want for you. Use the world, use the technology, use the wealth, use the comforts, but use them to support your flowering. You see, poverty is not spiritual. Poverty is a disease. If your body is starving, how can you meditate? If you are worried about your rent, how can you sit in silence and watch the moon? A certain level of material comfort is the foundation upon which the temple of the soul is built. Jesus knew this. He wasn't preaching poverty. He was preaching a richness that starts within and overflows without. The church has suppressed this. They have used the eye of a needle metaphor to scare the rich. But I tell you, only a man who has known the riches of the world can truly know that they are not enough. A poor man is always dreaming of money. He is the most materialistic person on earth. His mind is constantly on bread, on shoes, on a roof. Only a man who has everything can realize, I have all the gold, but I am still empty. That realization is the beginning of the search for God. So, in a way, you need to be rich to become truly spiritual. You need to exhaust the material so that the spiritual can be born. This is the shocking truth. Jesus wanted you to experience the fullness of life. He didn't want you to be a dyspeptic ghost, as Kazantzakis says about modern heroes. He wanted you to be like Zorba, vibrant, poetical, alive. If you are finding this light useful in your life, remember that you can support us through super thanks. Your generosity keeps this flame alive. And don't forget to check our ebooks if you are looking for a map through these inner territories. We also invite you to click join to access exclusive content and deeper dives into these mysteries. Let's look deeper into this bridegroom concept. Why is it so important? Because a bridegroom represents the height of joy. He is at the threshold of a new life, a new union. Jesus was saying that every moment of your life should be lived as if you are a bridegroom. There should be an excitement in your step, a sound in your heart. The religious people of his time were offended. They liked their saints to be pale and thin and miserable. They wanted them to be holy, which to them meant wholly dead. But Jesus was wholly alive. He was the Word made flesh. And flesh wants to live, flesh wants to feel, flesh wants to vibrate. When you deny your material needs, you are denying the very vehicle that God has given you. It is like having a beautiful car but refusing to put petrol in it because you think petrol is too worldly. Then you sit in the car and pray to reach the destination. You will never reach it. You must put the petrol in. The material is the fuel. The spiritual is the destination. Look at the flowers. Look at the trees. Does God create anything in a budget way? No. God is a spendthrift. Look at the millions of flowers that bloom and fade. Look at the vastness of the galaxies. Existence is abundant. It is overflowing. It is rich beyond imagination. If you are a child of this existence, how can you be a beggar? To be a beggar is to deny your father. To be a beggar is to say that the Creator is poor. I tell you, you are kings and queens who have forgotten your kingdom. And your kingdom is not just in heaven, it starts right here, right now, on this earth. The kingdom of heaven is a state of being where you are so rich in your awareness that everything you touch turns to gold. As we move forward in this talk, I want you to drop the guilt. Drop the idea that wanting a beautiful house, a comfortable life, or financial freedom is anti-spiritual. It is not. It is your birthright to live beautifully. But remember, the beauty should not just be on the walls of your house, it should be in the quality of your soul. Stay with me because we are going to explore how to bridge these two worlds, how to be a Zorba and a Buddha at the same time. This is the secret of the mustard seed that grows into a great tree. This is the secret of the new wine that cannot be put into old bottles. If you are ready for this transformation, make sure you have subscribed. Let's continue this dance into the depths of Jesus' true message. The old bottles cannot hold the new wine because the old bottles represent the old mind, the mind of no, the mind of negation, the mind that says life is a punishment. If you pour the ecstatic dancing energy of Jesus into those old shriveled mental patterns, they will burst. You cannot fit a celebration into a funeral. And for 2000 years, Christianity has been a long drawn out funeral. They have been mourning a dead Christ, and in doing so, they have missed the living spirit of the bridegroom. Look at the parable of the talents. It is one of the most misunderstood stories in the New Testament, yet it is so clearly a manifesto for abundance. A master goes on a journey and leaves his servants with talents, a currency of great value. To one he gives 5, to another 2, and to another 1. When he returns, the one who had 5 has traded them and made 5 more. The master is delighted. He says, "Well done, good and faithful servant." The one who had 2 has also doubled his wealth. The master is equally pleased. But then comes the one who had 1 talent. This man was religious in the old sense. He was afraid. He was cautious. He was an ascetic. He says, "Lord, I knew thee, that thou art an hard man. And I was afraid, and went and hid that talent in the earth." He kept it pure. He didn't risk it in the marketplace. He didn't sell it with trade or growth. He kept it exactly as it was. And what does Jesus say? Does he say, "Oh, how wonderful! You kept your poverty. You stayed humble. You didn't seek more"? No, he calls him a wicked and slothful servant. He takes the 1 talent away from him and gives it to the one who has 10. And then comes the line that has baffled the poor-minded for centuries. "For unto everyone that hath shall be given, and he shall have abundance. But from him that hath not shall be taken away even that which he hath. This is the law of existence. It is not just about money, it is about life energy. If you have joy, more joy will be given to you. If you have love, more love will flow toward you. If you have wealth and you know how to use it, how to move it, how to make it grow, more wealth will find its way to you. But if you are a miser, if you are poor in spirit, in the sense of being closed, fearful, and stagnant, even the little life you have will wither away. Existence loves a gambler. Existence loves someone who is willing to put everything on the line to grow. I want you to understand this deeply. Jesus was an evolutionist. He was talking about the expansion of consciousness. When he says he wants you to have life and have it more abundantly, he means a total overflowing. This is why I speak of Zorba the Greek. Zorba is the foundation. If you cannot enjoy a piece of bread, if you cannot enjoy the touch of a hand, if you cannot enjoy the sound of the sea, how will you enjoy the silence of the Absolute? Your senses are the doors to the divine. If the doors are broken and rusty because you think they are sinful, the divine will never be able to enter. In Nikos Kazantzaki's great work, Zorba says that most people are dyspeptic ghosts. They are half alive. They walk as if they are already in their graves. They don't eat, they consume. They don't love, they perform a duty. They don't work, they toil. This is the state of the poor that the church has glorified. I say to you, this is not holiness, this is neurosis. The real Jesus wanted you to be a master of the earth so that you could eventually become a master of the sky. Look at the way he describes the kingdom of heaven. He uses the imagery of feasts, of pearls of great price, of hidden treasures. He never says the kingdom of heaven is like a graveyard. He says it is like a man who finds a treasure in a field and in his joy sells everything he has to buy that field. Think about that. He sells everything. He is a businessman. He recognizes the value. He sees that he can trade the lesser for the greater. This is what true richness is: the intelligence to know what is valuable and the courage to pursue it. If you are stuck in the mindset of I am a sinner, I must suffer, You will never see the treasure even if you are standing right on top of it. Khalil Gibran, in his beautiful book, The Prophet, speaks on buying and selling. He says, "To you the earth yields her fruit, and you shall not want if you but know how to fill your hands." He describes the marketplace as a place where the spirits of the earth meet. He says that if the exchange is not made in love and kindly justice, it will lead some to greed and others to hunger. This is the Osho vision. And this was the secret vision of Jesus, a world where wealth is not a means of oppression, but a means of celebration. A world where we are so rich internally and externally that the very idea of mine and thine disappears. Not because we are forced to share, but because we have so much that we cannot help but overflow. The priests have taught you to be afraid of your desires. They said desire is the root of all evil. I say to you, desire is the root of all life. Without desire, the mustard seed would never want to become a tree. Without desire, the bird would never want to fly. Desire is the will to be more. The only thing you need to change is the object of your desire. Don't just desire small, shiny toys. Desire the whole. Desire the infinite. But you cannot desire the infinite if you have been taught to feel guilty about desiring a good meal. Jesus was constantly being criticized for his rich lifestyle. People said, "Look at him, he is a glutton and a wine bibber." They said this because he wasn't hiding his joy. He was staying with people like Zacchaeus, the wealthy tax collector. He was allowing a woman to pour expensive ointment worth a year's wages on his feet. His disciples, specifically Judas, who was the socialist of the group, the one worried about the poor, complained. Judas said, "This could have been sold and given to the poor." But what did Jesus say? He said, "The poor you have always with you, but me you have not always." This is a profound statement. He is saying that the poor mind is a constant in the world, but the moment of Buddha consciousness, the moment of the bridegroom, is a rare flowering. Do not miss the flowering for the sake of a dead social ideology. Celebrate the beauty while it is here. You see, the poor that Jesus talked about were not just those without money. He was talking about the anavim, the humble, those who are empty of ego. To be poor in spirit means to be like a hollow bamboo, so that the divine can sing through you. But the church translated this as stay in the slums, stay uneducated, stay miserable, and you will get a reward after you die. This is a bribe. It is a spiritual scam. I want you to be rich right now. I want your eyes to be rich with beauty, your ears to be rich with music, your heart to be rich with love, and yes, your pockets to be rich, so that you don't have to be a slave to anyone. When you are rich, you have the freedom to be yourself. When you are poor, you are at the mercy of the priest, the politician, and the boss. They want you poor because a rich person cannot be easily controlled. A rich person has alternatives. A rich person can say no. Jesus was a man of yes. His whole life was a yes to existence. Even on the cross, his yes was so loud that it has echoed through the centuries. But the church focused on the wood of the cross, not the man who was on it. They focused on the pain, not the transcendence of the pain. I am here to tell you that the wedding is still going on. The bridegroom has never left. The divinity is always present in the song of the birds, in the wind through the pines, in the laughter of a child, and in the successful creation of a business or a work of art, all of which is the kingdom. In the old days, the mystics went to the desert to find God. They thought that by leaving the world, they would find the Creator. But where is the Creator if not in the creation? To leave the world is to leave the very masterpiece that God is painting every moment. It is like going to an art gallery and closing your eyes to find the artist. Open your eyes. The artist is in the colors. The artist is in the brush strokes. This is why I say, do not choose between the world and the soul. Choose both. This is the third organon, a new way of thinking that transcends the old logic of this or that. It is the logic of and. I am a materialist and I am a spiritualist. I am a Zorba and I am a Buddha. When you live with this totality, you become a mustard tree. You are no longer just a seed hiding in the dark soil of fear. You have pushed through the earth. You have faced the storms. You have grown toward the sun. And now birds of all kinds can find shelter in your branches. You have become a blessing to the world. And you can only be a blessing if you have something to give. A beggar cannot give, he can only ask. A king gives. And Jesus wanted you to be kings. He said, "Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you." Notice the phrasing, all these things shall be added. He doesn't say all these things will be taken away. He says they will be added. Richness is a byproduct of being in tune with existence. When you are righteous, which means in a right dance with the whole starts taking care of you. The whole starts pouring its abundance through you. The tragedy of humanity is that we have been seeking the things without the kingdom, or we have been seeking the kingdom by rejecting the things. Both are lopsided. Both lead to a life of tension. If you seek only money, you become a rich beggar, full of gold but empty of soul. If you seek only the soul and reject the world, you become a spiritual beggar, full of knowledge but hungry, cold, and resentful. The new man, the Homo novus, doesn't see a line between the temple and the marketplace. To him, the marketplace is the temple. When he is selling a product, he is serving God. When he is building a house, he is building a sanctuary. When he is earning a profit, he is acknowledging the bounty of nature. This is the shocking truth that the religious authorities didn't want you to know. They wanted you to think that God loves your suffering. I tell you, God loves your joy. God is not a sadist. He is a creator, a dancer, a singer, and you are his instruments. Don't be a broken out of tune instrument. Be a golden flute. Think about the lilies of the field that Jesus spoke of. They toil not, neither do they spin. And yet I say unto you that even Solomon in all his glory was not arrayed like one of these. Why did he compare them to Solomon? Solomon was the richest king in Jewish history. Jesus was saying that nature's abundance, the richness of a lily, is greater than the artificial wealth of a king who is not in tune with his soul. But he wasn't saying, be a lily and stay in the mud. He was saying, have the grace of the lily and the glory of Solomon. When you bring the silence of the lily into the palace of Solomon, you have achieved the impossible. You have brought the two poles of existence together. You have become a bridge. Let this sink into your heart. Feel the possibility of it. You don't have to choose between your bank account and your meditation. Let your meditation make you more creative, more alert, and more efficient in the world. And let your success in the world give you the time, the space, and the comfort to go deeper into your meditation. They are two wings of the same bird. If you cut one, the bird cannot fly. For centuries, the bird of humanity has been hopping on one wing, going in circles, wondering why it cannot reach the stars. I am here to give you back your other wing. I am here to tell you that it is okay to fly, it is okay to be powerful, it is okay to be wealthy, and it is okay to be ecstatic. In fact, it is more than okay. It is your responsibility to the existence that gave you birth. As we continue, we will explore the specific old bottles you need to break, the specific guilt patterns that keep you from claiming your inheritance as a child of the universe. We will look at how the idea of sacrifice was used to kill the celebration. And we will learn how to turn your life into a continuous wedding feast, just as Jesus did at Cana. Stay with me in this silence, in this sharing. The river is flowing and the ocean is not far. Let the current take you. Don't fight the water. The water knows the way. The wedding at Cana is perhaps the most significant clue to the real character of Jesus. Think about it. His very first miracle, the beginning of his public ministry, was not healing a leper, not raising the dead, and not preaching a sermon on the virtues of poverty. No, his first miracle was performed to keep a party going. The wine had run out. The guests were still hungry for celebration, still thirsty for the juice of life. And Jesus, seeing their need, transformed ordinary water into the finest wine. The master of the feast was surprised. He said to the bridegroom, "Every man at the beginning doth set forth good wine, but thou hast kept the good wine until now." This is the secret of the spiritual life. It only gets better. It is an upward movement of quality. It is not about becoming less. It is about becoming more. If Jesus were the man of sorrows, the church claims he is, he would have told the guests, "Stop this drinking. Go to the desert. Fast and repent, for the end is near." But he didn't. He provided the wine because he understood that the human spirit needs to overflow. This brings us to the core of the Zorba the Buddha vision. For centuries, the world has been divided into two camps. On one side, you have the materialists, the people who think that only the body and money are real. They live for the senses, but because they have no inner depth, their lives eventually become hollow and meaningless. They have the wine, but they don't have the soul to enjoy it. On the other side, you have the spiritualists, the people who think that only the soul is real. They deny the body, they deny wealth, they deny the earth. They have the silence, but it is the silence of the graveyard, not the silence of a garden in bloom. I say to you, Both are incomplete. Both are half man, and a half man can never be happy. Happiness is the fragrance of wholeness. Jesus was trying to create a whole man. When he said, "I am the way, the truth, and the life," he wasn't talking about a narrow religious path. He was talking about a way of being, where the Word is made flesh. This means the highest truth, the Word, comes down into the material reality, the flesh, and vibrates within it. The church has always been afraid of the flesh. They have called it sinful. But if the flesh is sinful, then the Creator is a sinner, for He created it. The body is the temple of the living God, and a temple should be beautiful. A temple should be well maintained. A temple should be a place of abundance. When you look at the great cathedrals, they are filled with gold and art and music. Why? Because the human soul naturally recognizes that the divine is synonymous with richness. Then why do they tell the people in the pews to remain poor? It is a hypocrisy designed to keep the power in the hands of the few. Let's revisit the mustard seed. The seed is a promise. It is a tiny hard thing that contains within it the blueprint for a giant tree. But for the seed to become a tree, it must die to its seed state. It must be willing to dissolve in the soil. It must be willing to reach out and grab the nutrients from the earth. This is what I want you to do. Do not be afraid of the soil of the material world. Don't be afraid to be ambitious. Don't be afraid to seek excellence in your profession, to create wealth, to build empires of creativity, but do it with awareness. If you create wealth with awareness, that wealth becomes a tool for your spirit. If you create it with greed, you become a slave to the wealth. That is the only difference. Money is neutral. In the hands of a fool, it creates more foolishness. In the hands of a wise man, it creates more beauty, more freedom, and more opportunities for others to grow. In the book Zorba the Greek, there is a moment where Zorba looks at the boss, the intellectual, the man of books, and tells him that he is missing the point of life. Zorba says, life is trouble, only death is not. To be alive is to undo your belt and look for trouble. This trouble Zorba speaks of is the intensity of experience. It is the willingness to engage with the world totally. Jesus was a man who engaged with the world totally. He was not a safe person. He was a fire, and he wanted to set the world on fire. with a new kind of consciousness. This new consciousness is what Ouspensky calls the tertium organum, the third logic. The old logic says A is A and A cannot be B. It says you are either a saint or a sinner. The new logic says you are both and neither. You are a vast sky in which both clouds of material success and stars of spiritual silence can exist together. Think about the prodigal son. He left his father's house, he went into the world, he spent all his money on riotous living. He lived like a Zorba. And when he had lost everything, he realized something. He returned home. And did the father punish him? Did the father say, "You sinner, go live in the servants' quarters"? No. The father called for a feast. He killed the fatted calf. He gave him the best robe and a gold ring. This story is a metaphor for the human journey. You must go into the world. You must experience the richness of life, even the mistakes, even the failures. It is through the experience of the world that you mature. A saint who has never been tempted, who has never known wealth, who has never known the marketplace, is not a saint. He is just ignorant. His purity is like a plastic flower. It looks good, but it has no fragrance and it cannot grow. The real richness is the richness of a man who has known everything and has transcended everything. He has the gold, but the gold does not have him. This was the message of Jesus that got him killed. He was too free. He didn't fit into the poor and miserable category of the religious fanatics, and he didn't fit into the corrupt and power-hungry category of the politicians. He was a third element, a man of joy. When you are joyful, you are a threat to the establishment. Every priest and every politician wants you to be miserable. Why? Because a miserable person is a buyer. He buys products to hide his misery. He buys afterlife insurance from the priest to cope with his fear. He buys political ideologies to channel his anger. But a joyful person is self-contained. He doesn't need to be saved. He is already living in the kingdom. Khalil Gibran says that work is love made visible. If you work only for money, you are a slave. If you work for love, you are a creator. And when you are a creator, abundance is a natural consequence. Look at the great artists, the great innovators. They didn't start by saying, "I want to be poor." They started with a vision, a passion, a mustard seed of an idea. They gave it everything. and the existence responded by showering them with resources. The church has taken the phrase "blessed are the poor in spirit" and used it to justify the existence of slums. But what did Jesus mean? To be poor in spirit means to be egoless. It means to be empty of me and mine. It doesn't mean having an empty stomach. In fact, it is much harder for a starving man to be poor in spirit because his ego is constantly screaming for survival. It is the man who has everything who can easily say, "This gold is not mine, it belongs to existence. This body is not mine, it is a gift. This breath is not mine, it is the spirit of the universe." That is the ultimate richness, to own the whole universe because you have let go of the small I. Jesus lived this. He walked with a certain kingship. Even when he was being tried by Pilate, he was the one who looked like the king. And Pilate was the one who looked like the beggar, begging for answers, begging for a way out of his political dilemma. Jesus was rich in his being. And out of that richness, he wanted everyone to wake up to their own potential. I tell you, don't be satisfied with a small life. Don't be satisfied with just enough to get by. Existence is not just enough. Look at the stars. Are there just enough stars? There are trillions. Look at the trees. Does a tree produce just enough seeds? It produces millions, just so one or two can become trees. This is the extravagance of God, and you are a part of that extravagance. To be rich means to live in sync with this extravagance. It means to have a big heart, a big mind, and a big vision. It means to refuse to be a dyspeptic ghost. The old bottles of the church cannot hold this wine. They will tell you that I am being materialistic. They will tell you that Jesus was a socialist. They will tell you anything to keep you from realizing your own power. But I tell you, read the parables again. Look at the bridegroom again. Look at the talents again. The message is written in letters of light. Grow, expand, celebrate. The kingdom of heaven is like a merchant seeking goodly pearls. It is an active search. It is an investment. It is a trade up. You are the merchant. Your life is the capital. Don't bury it in the ground of fear and call it humility. Take the risk. Open your shop in the marketplace of life. Trade your silence for music. Trade your energy for creation. Trade your love for connection. When you do this, you will find that all these things are indeed added unto you. You will find that you don't have to choose between the earth and the sky. You can stand on the earth with your roots deep in the dark, rich soil of material reality, and your branches can reach up to the very stars, catching the light of the divine. This is the whole man. This is Zorba the Buddha. This is the Christ who is not hanging on a cross, but who is dancing at a wedding. The cross was only a moment. The wedding is eternal. The suffering was a shadow. The celebration is the substance. Focus on the substance. Don't let the shadows of guilt and poverty consciousness darken your soul. You were born to be a king. You were born to be rich. You were born to be a blessing. Let the mustard seed within you break open. Let the new wine flow. The bridegroom is here, and the feast is ready. The only question is, are you willing to sit at the table? Or will you stand outside in the cold, complaining that the wine is too expensive? Step inside. The door is open. It has always been open. The only lock was your own belief in your unworthiness. Drop that belief today. It is a heavy, useless piece of luggage. You don't need it for this journey. You need only your joy, your awareness, and your yes. As we continue, I want to show you how this yes transforms your daily life, how it changes the way you look at your work, your money, and your relationships. Because the truth is not a theory, it is a way of walking. And I want us to walk together into the light of a new morning. The night is ending. The sun is beginning to touch the horizon. The birds are already singing. Can you hear them? They are not worried about their talents. They are just singing their richness. Join them. Joining them means saying yes to the pulse of life that is beating in your own heart right now. This yes is the most fundamental prayer. It is not something you say with your lips. It is a way of vibrating. When you say yes to your hunger, yes to your desire, yes to your ambition, and yes to your silence, you are no longer divided. The old religious mind was a mind of no. It was constantly saying no to the body, no to sex, no to money, no to joy. And what is the result of thousands of years of no? A world full of repressed, angry, and violent people. You cannot suppress a natural energy without it turning sour. If you block a river, it becomes a stagnant swamp. Jesus was trying to unblock the human river. He said, "I am come that they might have life and that they might have it more abundantly." He didn't say he came to bring a new set of rules or a new list of don'ts. He came to bring a yes. But to say yes to abundance, you have to look at your relationship with the material world and specifically with money. Money is one of the most loaded topics in human history. The priest hates it because he wants you to give it to the church. The politician hates it because he wants to tax it. And the moralist hates it because he is jealous of those who have it. But what is money? Money is simply a medium of exchange for human energy. It is a way of storing and moving the fruits of your labor, your creativity, and your intelligence. If you have a negative attitude toward money, you have a negative attitude toward your own life energy. I have seen so many spiritual people who are constantly thinking about money precisely because they are trying to avoid it. They live in a state of constant friction. I say to you, be a master of money, not its slave. To be a master means you use it, you enjoy it, and you let it flow. In the book, the prophet Khalil Gibran says that you should not let the marketplace be a place of greed, but a place of kindly justice. This is possible only when you are rich inside. A man who is empty inside will use money to try and fill that hole. He will hoard it. He will use it to buy power. He will use it to feel superior. That is not richness. That is just a different kind of poverty. But a man who is overflowing with joy will use money to create a garden, to support art, to build a school, to travel and see the beauty of the earth. He will use it as a tool for celebration. The church has taught you that sacrifice is the way to God. They say you must give up the things you love to prove your devotion. This is a very sick idea. It implies that God is a jealous tyrant who is happy only when you are miserable. I tell you, the only sacrifice that is meaningful is the sacrifice of your ego, the sacrifice of your limitations, the sacrifice of your misery. Don't sacrifice your wealth, sacrifice your attachment to it. Don't sacrifice your joy, sacrifice your guilt about it. Jesus himself was a man of great commitment. In the mustard seed, I talk about how depth is disappearing from human relationships. People are afraid of commitment because they are afraid of the depth. They want to stay on the surface where it is safe. But if you stay on the surface, you never know the kingdom. To be rich in life means to have the courage to commit to a person, to a work, to a vision. When you commit, you are putting your whole being into the tilled earth, like that mustard seed. It is a risk. You might be destroyed, but that destruction of the seed is the birth of the tree. If you are always playing it safe, always trying to keep your talents hidden in the ground so you don't lose them, you are already dead. The man who lived like a Zorba, who risked everything, who danced and sang even when he had nothing, was much closer to the Spirit of Jesus than the holy man who sits in a dark room and counts his virtues. Let's look at the concept of the law. In Come Follow to You, we see how Jesus was constantly breaking the Sabbath, breaking the dietary laws, breaking the social codes of his time. The Pharisees were obsessed with the law. They thought that if you followed the rules, you were righteous. But Jesus said that the Sabbath was made for man and not man for the Sabbath. He was putting the human being, the living, breathing, desiring human being, above the dead code. This is the shift from law to love. The law is external, love is internal. The law is for the poor in spirit, who need someone to tell them what to do. Love is for the rich in spirit, who act out of their own overflowing awareness. When you act out of love, you don't need a rule book to tell you to be kind or to be fair. You are kind because it feels good. You are fair because you see yourself in the other. This is what I mean when I say Jesus wanted you rich. He wanted you to be so rich in love and awareness that you could live without the crutches of the law. He wanted you to be an aristocrat of the soul. An aristocrat is someone who has so much that he can afford to be generous. Someone who has so much dignity that he cannot be bought. Someone who has so much grace that he moves through life as a dance. But you have been told you are a sinner. You have been told you are unworthy. These are the chains that keep you in poverty. If you think you are a sinner, you will subconsciously sabotage your own success. You will feel that you don't deserve a beautiful life. You will feel that you must pay a price for your happiness. This is why so many people, when they finally achieve wealth or success, become miserable. They feel like frauds. They are waiting for the punishment to come. I am here to tell you, there is no punishment. There is only consequence. If you live in a no, the consequence is misery. If you live in a yes, the consequence is abundance. It is as simple as that. Existence is not judging you, it is reflecting you. If you offer it a face of joy, it reflects a world of celebration. If you offer it a face of complaints, it reflects a world of scarcity. Think about the new wine and the old bottles again. The old bottles are your old beliefs about yourself. You must shatter them. You must stop seeing yourself as a beggar. You are a manifestation of the divine. The same energy that created the stars is the energy that is breathing through you. Is that energy poor? Is that energy limited? No, it is infinite. To be Zorba the Buddha means you accept your material needs and your spiritual depths as two sides of the same coin. Zorba says, eat, drink and be merry. Buddha says, be silent and know. I say, eat, drink and be merry with silence and knowledge. Let your food be a meditation. Let your wine be a prayer. Let your wealth be an expression of your gratitude. When you sit at a beautiful table with good food and good friends, and you are fully present, that is a holy moment. It is more holy than 1,000 prayers said in a church by a man who is thinking about his lunch. Total presence is the key to richness. If you are eating a simple crust of bread, but you are 100% there, that bread tastes like the food of the gods. If you are a billionaire, but your mind is in the future or the past, you are eating dust. Jesus was the master of presence. Whether he was talking to a prostitute or a king, he was there. He was total. And that totality is what people felt as power. They felt a richness in him that they had never seen before. He wasn't rich because of what he had. He was rich because of what he was. But, and this is the part the church hates, because of what he was, he had access to everything. The whole existence was his home. You have been taught to be humble, but your humility is often just a mask for your ego's fear. Real humility is not thinking less of yourself, it is thinking of yourself less. It is becoming so poor in spirit, empty of ego, that you become rich in God, full of existence. And when you are full of existence, you don't have to worry about all these things. They follow you like a shadow follows a person in the sun. The problem is that you have been chasing the shadow and turning your back on the sun. You chase the money, you chase the power, You chase the fame, all while feeling guilty and small inside. I say, turn toward the sun. Find your inner light. Find your inner yes. Find your inner wedding feast. And then from that place of inner richness, go out into the world and create. Create a business that reflects your integrity. Create art that reflects your beauty. Create a home that reflects your peace. Do not be afraid to have the best. Why should the sinners have all the fun and all the wealth? If anyone should be rich, it should be the people of meditation. Because only a person of meditation knows how to use wealth without being destroyed by it. Only a person of meditation can have a palace and yet be as unattached as a bird on a branch. The bird sits on the branch, but it doesn't own the branch. It enjoys the branch. It sings on the branch. It rests on the branch. And if the branch breaks, it simply flies away. It has wings. This is the state I want for you. Have the branch of material success. Have the palace. Have the gold. But keep your wings of meditation and non-attachment. Then you are truly free. Then you are truly rich. For centuries, humanity has been told that you have to choose the branch or the wings. If you choose the branch, you are a materialist and you lose your soul. If you choose the wings, you are a spiritualist and you lose the earth. I say, have both. Use the branch as a place to land and use your wings to touch the sky. This was the secret of Jesus. He was a man with wings who wasn't afraid to land on any branch. He was comfortable with the rich and the poor, the saints and the sinners. He saw the mustard seed in everyone. He saw that everyone was a potential tree. But he also saw how the birds of heaven were being kept away by the thorns of guilt and the walls of the law. He came to tear down those walls. He came to burn those thorns, and they killed him for it. Because once people realize they are rich within, they cannot be enslaved from without. A man who knows his own divinity is the most dangerous person for any establishment. You cannot tempt him with small baubles, and you cannot frighten him with the loss of material things, because he knows he is the master of the kingdom. I want you to reclaim that mastery. I want you to look at your life not as a series of problems to be solved, but as a series of opportunities to be celebrated. Your work is not a curse from the fall of Adam, it is your love made visible, as Gibran said. If you don't love what you do, stop doing it. Find something that makes your heart sing. Even if it pays less at first, the richness of your soul will eventually manifest as the richness of your life. Existence never lets a yes go unrewarded. It may take time. The seed may have to wait in the dark for a season, but the spring always comes. And when the spring comes, the explosion of growth is unstoppable. So drop the old bottles. Drop the idea that you are a dyspeptic ghost. Stand up tall, breathe deeply, and feel the richness of this moment. The bridegroom is still here. The wine is still flowing. The miracle of Cana is happening right now in your very blood, if you are alert enough to see it. We are moving into a new era of human consciousness, the era of the Homo novus. A man who is at home in the world and at home in the silence of the Absolute. A man who can fly to the moon and yet sit in a cave in deep meditation. This is the synthesis. This is the goal. And Jesus was one of the earliest pioneers of this path. As we continue, I want to talk to you about the mustard tree of your own life. How to prune the dead branches of the past, and how to invite the birds of heaven to nest in your being. Because a richness that is not shared is not richness at all. It is just a heavy burden. True richness is an overflow. It is a song that must be sung. It is a light that must shine. Stay in this space of yes. Let the words of Jesus, the real Jesus, resonate in your being. Not the words of the priest, but the words of the bridegroom. Can the children of the bride chamber mourn as long as the bridegroom is with them? No, they cannot. They must dance. They must feast. They must be rich in every sense of the word. Let this be the beginning of your new life, a life without no, a life without guilt, a life of total overflowing abundance. The kingdom is not something you go to, it is something you bring with you. It is the quality of your presence. It is the richness of your yes. This yes must permeate your work, your leisure, and your very silence. In the old story of the Garden of Eden, work was described as a punishment. Adam and Eve were told that because they disobeyed, they would have to toil by the sweat of their brow. This has poisoned the human mind for millennia. It made people feel that labor is a curse, and that laziness or doing nothing is the state of paradise. But look at the world. Does the sun toil? Do the trees toil? No, they function out of their nature. They are active, but there is no toiler inside them. When Jesus says, "Consider the lilies of the field," He is giving you a secret of the highest economics. The lily is not lazy. It is working very hard. It is absorbing nutrients. It is transforming sunlight. It is creating fragrance. But it does it without tension. It is love made visible, as Gibran said. Your work should be your dance. If you are building a business, if you are painting a canvas, if you are cleaning a floor, do it with such richness of spirit that the work itself becomes your reward. This is how you become rich. Success is not something that happens at the end of the road. Success is the way you walk the road. If you are waiting for $1 million to become happy, you are a beggar, and you will remain a beggar even with the $1 million. But if you are happy while you are earning your first $10, you are a king. And the strange thing about existence is that it loves to give more to the kings and take away from the beggars. This is the inner meaning of the parable of the talents. The man who was afraid and hid his money was a beggar in his heart. He didn't trust existence. He didn't trust his own creativity. He wanted security. But I tell you, security is a myth. Only the dead are secure. Life is a constant insecurity, a constant risk, and in that risk is the richness. Jesus was the greatest risk taker of all. He risked his life, his reputation, and his comfort to bring a message of fire. He didn't want you to be safe, he wanted you to be alive. And to be alive means to expand. Look at the mustard tree of your life. It needs pruning. What are the dead branches? The dead branches are your attachments to the past, your guilt about what you did or didn't do, your poverty consciousness that was handed down to you by your parents and your priests. Prune them, cut them away without mercy. They are sucking the life out of your tree. A tree that is burdened with dead wood cannot produce new fruit. Pruning means letting go of the old bottles. It means realizing that you are not your bank account, but you are the master of it. It means realizing that you are not your social status, but you are the one who plays the role. When you are detached in this way, you become truly rich because you can no longer be losing anything. You own everything because you claim nothing. This is the logic of ecstasy that Ouspensky talks about in Tertium Ardanum. In the old logic, if I give you something, I have less. In the logic of the Spirit, if I give you my love, I have more love. If I give you my joy doubles. Richness follows this spiritual logic. The more you share your abundance, whether it is your money, your time, or your wisdom, the more the universe pours into you. You become a channel. A channel must be open at both ends. If you only want to receive and not give, the channel gets blocked. If you only want to give and not receive, the channel runs dry. This is where the Zorba side is so important. Zorba knows how to receive. He knows how to enjoy the gifts of the earth. He doesn't feel guilty about a good meal, or a beautiful woman, or a glass of wine. He says yes to the gift. The Buddha side knows how to give. He gives his silence, his blessing, his presence. When these two meet, you have the homo novus, the man who is a perfect circle of giving and receiving. Jesus was this circle. He received the hospitality of the rich, and he gave them the richness of his soul. He received the love of the Magdalene, and he gave her the dignity of a queen. He didn't see any conflict between the high and the low. To him, everything was the Father's house. And in his Father's house, there are many mansions. Why choose to live in the basement? Why choose to live in the servants' quarters when you are the heir to the throne? The church has kept you in the basement. They have told you that the mansions are only for after you die. This is the ultimate pie in the sky deception. I tell you, the mansions are here. The kingdom of heaven is within you, and it is also all around you. If you cannot find it here, you will not find it anywhere. Death doesn't transform you, it only drops the body. If you are a beggar when you die, you will be a beggar in the next life or in the afterlife. Transformation happens now through awareness. Become aware of your own mustard seed. Feel its pressure to grow. It is restless. It doesn't want to stay a seed. It wants to explode into a tree where the birds of heaven, the high thoughts, the ecstatic feelings, the divine inspirations can find a home. Don't suppress this restlessness. This restlessness is your soul's hunger for the infinite. Most people try to satisfy this hunger with small things. They think if I just get a better car, I will be happy. Or if I find a better partner, I will be fulfilled. These are just temporary distractions. They are water that makes you thirsty again, as Jesus told the woman at the well. I am talking about the living water. I am talking about a richness that comes from the very source of your being. When you find that source, you become like the sun. The sun doesn't have to seek light, it is light. And because it is light, it illuminates everything around it. A rich man, a truly rich man, is an illumination. He makes the world a little brighter just by being in it. He is a Zorba the Buddha who can laugh with the world and sit in silence with the stars. The Pharisees of today will still tell you that this is blasphemy. They will tell you that Osho is leading you astray. They will tell you that Jesus was a humble carpenter who lived in poverty. Yes, he was a carpenter. He knew how to build. He knew how to take raw wood and turn it into something useful and beautiful. And that is exactly what he wanted to do with your life. He wanted to take the raw wood of your biology, your instincts, and your desires, and craft them into a throne for the divine. You cannot build a throne out of rotten, poor wood. You need the best materials. You need the richness of the earth. You need the strength of the Zorba. So I say to you, be unashamed of your desire for richness, but let it be a total richness. Don't settle for just gold. Get the gold, but get the silence too. Get the power, but get the love too. Get the comfort, but get the awareness too. This is the abundant life that the bridegroom promised. And remember, the wedding is not a future event. It is happening now. Every breath is a union between the inner and the outer. Every heartbeat is a celebration of the whole. If you can realize this, you will never feel poor again. Even if you are stripped of everything, you will remain a king. And because you are a king, everything you need will always be provided. This is the trust of the mustard seed. It doesn't have a bank account. It doesn't have an insurance policy. It just has its yes to existence, and existence never fails it. As we sit in this sharing, let the old bottles of your mind continue to crack. Let the new wine of this understanding seep into your heart. You are not a sinner who needs to be saved through suffering. You are a seed that needs to be nourished through joy. Feel the expansion. Feel the branches of your being reaching out. You are not alone. You are part of a vast, rich, and celebratory universe, and you are here to represent that celebration. The real Jesus is not the one on the cross. The real Jesus is the one who is alive in your capacity to love, to create, and to dance. Focus on the living Christ, not the dead image. Focus on the bridegroom, and the wedding will never end. The morning has come. The sun is high. The mustard tree is casting a beautiful shadow. It is time to step out and live your richness. It is time to be the miracle. This wedding feast is not a metaphor for some distant heaven. It is the reality of the here and now. The reason the religious authorities have always been so afraid of wealth is that wealth gives you the luxury of choice. When you are poor, you are forced to be a certain way. You are forced to work at a job you hate. You are forced to live in a place you didn't choose. You are forced to follow the rules of those who provide your bread. Poverty is a prison. And the priests have been the jailers, telling you that your cell is a holy sanctuary. I tell you, break the walls. Jesus didn't come to bless the prison. He came to bring the keys. Look at the story of the eye of the needle. The priests have used this to make the rich feel guilty and the poor feel superior. It is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of God. They take this literally to mean that money is an obstacle. But look at the context. Jesus was talking to a young man who was obsessed with his possessions. He wasn't telling him that money is bad. He was telling him that his attachment was making him fat with ego. To enter the kingdom of God, you must be thin. You must be able to pass through the needle's eye of the present moment. If you are carrying the luggage of mine and thine, if you are defined by what you own rather than what you are too big to get through. A truly rich man, in the way Jesus lived, is a man who can have everything and yet possess nothing. He can live in a palace and yet be ready to walk away from it at a moment's notice, with no more concern than a bird leaving its nest. That is the ultimate richness. To be so full of your own inner being that no external circumstance can add to or take away from your treasure. But the irony is, when you reach that state of non-attachment, existence starts showering you with even more, because you have become a safe hands for its abundance. You are no longer a miserly collector. You are a cosmic distributor. This is the meaning of the Homo Novus, the new man. He is a Zorba, who has discovered his Buddha nature. Zorba the Greek says that the boss is like a man who has a great treasure but doesn't know how to dance with it. He says the boss's head is like a cupboard full of books, but his heart is a desert. I want you to be a Zorba whose heart is a garden and whose head is a servant to that heart. Use your intelligence to navigate the marketplace, to create wealth, to master technology, but let your heart be the king. Let your silence be the foundation. In the marketplace, as Khalil Gibran suggests, do not let the greedy or the hungry dominate the spirit of exchange. True commerce is a spiritual act. It is a way of saying, I have this gift of my labor and I offer it to you. When you receive money in return, you are receiving the energy of the whole universe to support your life. If you do this with awareness, every transaction is a prayer. Every profit is a blessing. The old bottles of the church would have you believe that the marketplace is unholy. But I ask you, where is God not? If God is not in the marketplace, then your God is very small and very weak. My God is in the dance of Zorba, in the wine of Kana, and in the successful trade of the talents. The mustard seed does not grow in a vacuum. It needs the soil, it needs the manure, it needs the struggle against the earth to push its way up. Your material life is the manure for your spiritual flowering. Do not reject it. Use the friction of the world to sharpen your awareness. A man who stays in a cave may be peaceful, but his peace is untested. It is fragile. It is the peace of a dead stone. But the peace of a man who can stay silent in the middle of a roaring marketplace, who can stay compassionate in a world of competition, who can stay rich in spirit while managing millions. That is a peace that is indestructible. That is the peace of Christ. Jesus was often found at dinner parties. Why? Because the dinner table is where life happens. It is where people share their food, their stories, their laughter, and their wine. He was called a friend of sinners because he didn't judge people based on the law. He judged them based on their capacity for love and celebration. He saw that the sinners were often more alive than the saints. The sinners had fire, they just didn't know how to channel it. The saints were cold and dead. They had no fire left to channel. I am here to give you back your fire, and I want you to use that fire to burn away the poverty consciousness that has kept you small. You are a child of the King, which makes you a prince or a princess. Act like it. Don't beg existence for just enough. Demand the whole. But remember, the whole includes the inner silence. If you have the outer wealth without the inner silence, you will be like a man who has a beautiful musical instrument but doesn't know how to play it. You will just make noise. In Tertium Organum, Ouspensky speaks of a new logic that transcends the senses. He says that the world as we see it is only a shadow of a higher reality. Richness, in its truest sense, is the ability to see the substance through the shadows. When you see a piece of gold, do you see just a metal, or do you see a manifestation of the divine light? When you see a tree, do you see just wood, or do you see a mustard seed that has successfully claimed its inheritance? When you look at your bank account, do you see just numbers, or do you see the energy of your creativity waiting to be used for more beauty? Transformation is a matter of perspective. The old bottles are a lens of scarcity. They make you see a world where there is not enough to go around. So you must fight and hold. The new wine is a lens of abundance. It makes you see a world where there is more than enough, where the more you give, the more you have. This was the vision of Jesus at the feeding of the 5,000. It wasn't just a magic trick with bread and fish. It was a demonstration of the power of sharing and abundance consciousness. When you stop holding, the multiplication begins. But to reach this level of abundance, you must be a mustard seed. You must be willing to commit. You must be willing to go deep. In the mustard seed, I explained that human relationships are becoming shallow because people are afraid of the commitment that depth requires. They want friends with benefits rather than the wedding of souls. They want quick profits rather than the talents that are nurtured over time. But richness, true lasting richness, is a product of depth. If you are a shallow person, you can only have shallow wealth. You will be a nouveau riche of the spirit, loud, fleshy, but empty inside. But if you have the depth of a Buddha, your wealth will have a certain weight to it. It will have a grace. It will be enlightened wealth. This is what the world needs today. We don't need more spiritual beggars, and we don't need more materialistic misers. We need enlightened creators. We need people who can build corporations that function like temples, who can create technology that serves humanity's highest potential, and who can use wealth to turn the whole earth into a Garden of Eden. This is the shocking truth about Jesus. He was the original enlightened creator. He was building a kingdom, not a kingdom of territory and armies, but a kingdom of consciousness and celebration. And He wanted you to be the citizens of that kingdom. He wanted you to be children of the bride chamber. Think about the atmosphere of a bride chamber. It is an atmosphere of intimacy, of ecstasy, of new beginnings. It is an atmosphere of yes. Jesus said that as long as the bridegroom is with them, they cannot fast. I tell you, the bridegroom is always with you. The divinity is your very breath. Therefore, you must never fast in the spirit of misery. Your life should be a continuous feast. If you have a business, let it be a feast. If you have a family, let it be a feast. If you are sitting alone in your room, let your silence be a feast. Richness is not a goal to be reached. It is a quality to be lived. And when you live it, the external world has no choice but to align with your inner state. This is the law of as within, so without. The religious people will tell you that this is new age or dangerous. Of course it is dangerous. It is dangerous to their power over you. Once you realize that you have the mustard seed within you and that you have the right to be a mustard tree, you are no longer a sheep in their flock. You are a lion. And a lion doesn't ask for permission to be king. He simply is. Jesus was the Lion of Judah. He wasn't a meek and mild lamb. He was a man of power. He had the power to heal, the power to transform, and the power to confront the hypocrites. And He told His disciples, "The works that I do shall ye do also, and greater works than these shall ye do." He was giving you His power. He was handing you the keys to the abundant life. Why have you not used them? Because you were told that the keys were sinful. You were told that to be powerful is to be un-Christ-like. I tell you, to be weak is to be un-Christ-like. To be poor is to be un-Christ-like. To be miserable is to be un-Christ-like. Christ was the Word made flesh, the highest vibration in the most grounded reality. I want you to bring your words, your vision, your talent, your unique genius into the flesh of this material world. Don't hide your light under a bushel. Let it shine. And if that light attracts wealth, let it come. If it attracts influence, let it come. If it attracts celebration, let it come. Just keep your inner Buddha alert so that you remain the master of the light and not its shadow. Zorba says that a man should be a little bit crazy. This madness Zorba speaks of is the madness of the heart. It is the madness of a man who is so in love with life that he doesn't care about the logic of the dyspeptic ghosts. Jesus had this madness. He was mad enough to think he could change the world with love. He was mad enough to turn water into wine. He was mad enough to tell a group of poor fishermen that they were the salt of the earth. I want you to have that same madness. Be mad enough to believe that you can be rich, happy, and holy all at the same time. Be mad enough to reject the old bottles of guilt and sacrifice. Be mad enough to celebrate your life right now, regardless of what the saints of the cemetery say. The mustard tree is waiting to be born within you. The bridegroom is waiting to dance. The new wine is ready to be poured. All that is needed is your yes. Not a half-hearted yes, not a yes but a total Zorba-like yes that shakes the very foundations of your being. When you say that yes, you are no longer a separate, struggling ego. You are a part of the vast, rich flow of existence. You are a wave in the ocean of abundance. And a wave doesn't have to worry about where the water is coming from. The whole ocean is behind it. The secret of Jesus is the secret of the abundant flow. He was a channel for the infinite, and you are designed to be the same. Stop being a bottle, even a new bottle, and start being a river. A bottle has a limit. A river has a direction. A bottle holds, a river flows. And the destination of the river is the ocean of the Absolute. But you cannot reach the ocean if you are afraid of the banks. The banks are the material world. They give the river its shape. They provide the structure. Do not hate the banks. Love them, use them, and flow between them with joy. This is the synthesis of Zorba and Buddha. This is the path of the mustard seed. In the coming moments, let this understanding deepen. Let it become more than just words. Let it become a vibration in your cells. You are rich. You are blessed. You are the bridegroom. And the wedding has just begun. The night is gone The sun is shining on the mustard tree. The birds are singing of the kingdom. Everything is ready. The only thing missing is your dance. So dance. Dance with your wealth. Dance with your silence. Dance with your yes. This is the only way to follow Jesus. This is the only way to be a Christian. This is the only way to be truly, sparklingly alive. The logic of the river is the logic of let go. It doesn't struggle to reach the ocean. It simply allows the gravity of existence to pull it home. And on its way, it nourishes the banks, it gives water to the thirsty, it turns the wheels of the mills, and it creates a path of green where there was once only brown. This is how your wealth should be. It should be a flow that happens as you move toward your own inner ocean. If you stop the flow, you become a stagnant pond. And a stagnant pond is where the mosquitoes of guilt, greed, and fear breed. Jesus said, "For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also." The church interpreted this as don't have any treasure on earth. I interpret it differently. I say, make your heart so big that your treasure can include the whole earth. If your heart is small, even a single gold coin will occupy it and leave no room for God. But if your heart is as vast as the sky, you can have all the riches of Solomon, and they will be just like a tiny bird flying through that sky. They won't even leave a trace. True richness is the ability to use things without being used by them. Most people are used by their possessions. They don't own their houses own them. They are so worried about the roof, the paint, the insurance, and the security that they have no time to live inside the house. They are the guards of their own property. I want you to be the guests of existence. A guest enjoys the room, enjoys the garden, enjoys the feast, and then moves on with a heart full of gratitude. He doesn't try to pack the furniture in his suitcase. This is the state of the Homo novus. He is a Zorba who enjoys the furniture, and he is a Buddha who knows he cannot take it with him. This realization doesn't make him enjoy the furniture less, it makes him enjoy it more. Because he knows he only has it for a moment, he gives it his total attention. He doesn't take it for granted. He doesn't postpone his joy until someday when he has enough. He knows that enough is a horizon. The more you walk toward it, the further away it moves. Richness is a state of mind that says, I have everything I need for this moment, and I have the creativity to manifest what I need for the next. This is the trust of the lilies. It is not a passive trust, it is an active, vibrant alignment with the laws of life. When you are in alignment, the mustard seed of your intent finds the tilled earth of opportunity. Think about the way you were raised. You were likely told that money doesn't grow on trees, or that you have to suffer to succeed. These are the old bottles. These are the lies of the poor in spirit. I tell you, money does grow on trees, the trees of intelligence, the trees of creativity, the trees of service. If you plant the right seeds and you water them with your awareness, the harvest is inevitable. The tragedy is that the people who should be the richest, the people of love, the people of art, the people of meditation, often feel the most guilt about wealth. They have been brainwashed to believe that there is something dirty about money. Meanwhile, the people who have no soul, no love, and no awareness have no problem grabbing all the resources. This has created a world that is lopsided. We have a world of rich monsters and poor saints. I want to change that. I want a world of rich saints. I want a world where the most aware people are also the most powerful and the most abundant. Imagine a world where the mustard trees are managed by Buddhas. Imagine a world where the corporations are run by Zorbas who have discovered the silence of the heart. That would be the kingdom of heaven on earth. And it is possible. It starts with you dropping the no and saying a total yes to your own capacity for greatness. In Come Follow to You, I speak about the Word made flesh. This is the ultimate synthesis. The Word is the spiritual vibration. The flesh is the material reality. When the two are one, you have a Christ. You have a person who is totally grounded and yet totally divine. This person doesn't see a difference between prayer and business. When he is negotiating a deal, he is praying. When he is praying, he is negotiating with the infinite. It is all one dance. The church separated these things because they wanted to control your soul. They said, give us your soul and give the Caesar your money. They created a split. And because your money is your energy, by giving it to Caesar, you became a slave to the state. By giving your soul to the priest, you became a slave to the church. You were left with nothing. I say, keep your soul and keep your money. Use your money to feed your soul, and use your soul to guide your money. Be a master of both worlds. Jesus was a master of both. He wasn't a victim of the world, and he wasn't a runaway from it. He was a conqueror of the heart, who walked through the marketplace with the dignity of a king. Look at the way he spoke to the rich. He didn't tell them to throw their money into the sea. He told them to use it with awareness. He told them that they couldn't serve God and mammon. People think this means you must choose one or the other. No. It means you cannot have two masters. You can only have one master, the self, the awareness, the Christ within. When you are the master, then mammon becomes your servant. If you make mammon your master, you lose God. If you make God your master, mammon follows God like a humble servant. Wealth should never be the goal. Wealth should be the fragrance. The goal is the flowering of your being. When a rose blooms, the fragrance comes on its own. It doesn't have to work for it. It doesn't have to toil and spin. It just happens because the rose is being a rose. If you are being a homo novus, a whole integrated human being, wealth will be the fragrance of your life. It will come in the form of resources, in the form of friends, in the form of opportunities, and yes, in the form of gold. But if you seek the fragrance without the rose, you will only get a perfume, something artificial, something that doesn't last, something that you have to keep reapplying. Most rich people today are just using perfume to hide the smell of their inner decay. I want you to be a rose. Zorba understood this. He didn't have much, but he was richer than any king, because he had the rose of his own vitality. He could dance on the ruins of his business because he knew that the business was just a shadow, but the dancer was the reality. If the dancer is there, he can always build another business. But if the dancer is dead, what use is the business? Jesus was the ultimate dancer. Even on the way to Golgotha, he was dancing in his spirit. He knew that the cross was just another business failure in the eyes of the world, but in the eyes of existence, it was the ultimate success. He had remained true to his yes. He had remained the bridegroom until the very end. I want you to bring this quality of the bridegroom into your daily life. When you wake up, don't wake up as a worker who has to toil. Wake up as a lover who gets to create. When you look at your bank account, don't look at it with the eyes of a miser who is afraid of loss. Look at it with the eyes of a gardener who is planning the next season's bloom. The old bottles of the church have made you think that being serious is being spiritual. They think that the longer your face is, the closer you are to God. I tell you, God is a joker. Look at the duck-billed platypus. Look at the way a monkey swings. Look at the absurd variety of life. God is not a serious, grey-bearded old man sitting on a throne. God is the energy of celebration. And you are at your most God-like when you are at your most joyful. So drop the sorrow of the cross and embrace the wine of Cana. The miracle is not that water became wine 2000 years ago. The miracle is that life is constantly turning the water of the ordinary into the wine of the extraordinary if you have the eyes to see it. Your work, your money, your relationships, all of it is the water. Your awareness is the Christ that turns it into wine. Without awareness, your wealth is just water, flat, tasteless, and eventually stagnant. With awareness, even your poverty can be turned into wine, into a richness of spirit that eventually attracts the material wealth to match it. The mustard seed of your potential is ready. The tilled earth of this moment is waiting. Don't let the birds of other people's opinions eat your seeds. Protect them with your silence. Nourish them with your yes. And soon, very soon, you will find yourself standing under the shade of your own great tree. And you will see that Jesus was right. He wanted you to be rich. He wanted you to be powerful. He wanted you to be a light unto the world. But He wanted you to do it from the inside out. He wanted the kingdom to be the source and the abundance to be the flow. As we sit here in this shared silence, feel the truth of this. You are not a beggar, you are an heir. You are not a sinner, you are a seed. You are not a dyspeptic ghost, you are the Word made flesh. Let this be your reality. Let the old garment fall away. Let the new wine fill you. The bridegroom is calling. The wedding feast is spread. All is ready. Step into your richness. Step into your joy. Step into your yes. The celebration is eternal. The dance never ends, and you are the lead dancer. Don't wait for the next life. Don't wait for someday. The kingdom of heaven is at hand. It is right here, in the palm of your hand, in the beat of your heart, in the richness of your awareness. Take it, live it, be it. That is the only way to honor the man who turned water into wine. That is the only way to follow the Christ who said, I am come, that they might have life, and that they might have it more abundantly. Be abundant, be rich, be whole. This is my message to you. This is the shocking truth that sets you free. Go and live your yes with all your heart, all your soul, and all your gold. The ocean is waiting. The river is flowing. All is well. The mustard tree is in bloom. Can you smell the fragrance? It is the fragrance of your own soul. It is the richness of your own being. Celebrate it now and forever. This fragrance is not just a personal experience. It is a gift that must be shared. A rose does not keep its scent for itself. It gives it to the wind, and the wind carries it to everyone, to the beggar, to the king, to the sinner, and to the saint. Your richness, your yes, and your awareness must also flow outward. This brings us to a very beautiful secret of existence. The more you share, the more you have. This is why I have created this space for us to meet. This channel is not just a platform for words. It is a digital Buddha hall, a place where the seeds of the mustard tree are being sown across the globe. To keep this mustard tree growing and to help its branches reach more people who are wandering in the darkness of poverty consciousness, I invite you to participate in this energy exchange. If you feel that these words have touched your soul, if you feel that the bridegroom is stirring within you, please take a moment to subscribe and hit the bell icon. By doing so, you are telling the universe that you are ready for more light. And do not forget to like this video and share it. When you share this message, you are acting as the wind that carries the fragrance of the rose to those who are still starving for truth. But for those among you who want to dive even deeper, for those who want to commit like the mustard seed that disappears into the earth to become something greater, I have created a special opportunity. You can click the join button right now to become an official member of our digital commune. By choosing to join, you are not just supporting a channel, you are entering a deeper commitment with this vision. Members get access to exclusive content, deeper meditations, and a closer connection to this Zorba the Buddha lifestyle. And if this particular talk, this shocking truth truth about Jesus and your right to be rich has resonated with you as a super miracle, you can express your gratitude through the super thanks feature. This is a direct way to offer a super thanks donation that goes directly into the flowering of this work. Think of it as a talent that you are investing in the kingdom of awareness. Every contribution helps us reach the thousands who are still trapped in the old bottles of guilt and misery. Furthermore, I have prepared something that can truly transform the very fabric of your life. We have a collection of ebooks that serve as detailed maps for this inner and outer journey. These life-changing ebooks are not just information, they are tilled earth for your soul. They contain the techniques, the parables, and the silences needed to turn your mustard seed into a giant tree. You can find the links to these ebooks in the description below. Invest in yourself. Buy these ebooks and let them be the new wine that fills your new bottles. This is not just a purchase, it is a declaration of your intent to be rich in every dimension. Now let us return to the final mystery of the bridegroom. Jesus said that when the bridegroom is taken away, then they will fast. This taking away is not just about a physical death. It is about the moment you lose your awareness. When you are unconscious, you are fasting from the truth. When you are asleep, you are poor. But as long as you are alert, as long as you are living with a yes, the bridegroom is always with you. The wedding is a perennial state of consciousness. I want you to look at your life as a series of miracles. Turning water into wine is not a historical event, it is your potential. You can turn your watery, ordinary, dull existence into the wine of ecstasy. But you must be willing to break the old bottles. You must be willing to say, I am not a sinner. I am a manifestation of God. I have the right to be rich. I have the right to be happy. And I have the right to be whole. The church will never forgive me for saying this. And they would never have forgiven Jesus if he had said it as clearly as I am saying it to you today. They need you to be meek in the sense of being weak. But I tell you, the meek who inherit the earth are those who are so strong, so rich, and so centered that they have no need for ego. Their meekness is the meekness of a lion who is so powerful he doesn't need to roar to prove it. He can just be. This is the goal of the Homo novus, to be a lion Buddha, to be a dancing Zorba, to be a rich Christ. When you leave this talk, don't just carry the words with you, carry the vibration. Go into your work tomorrow with the awareness that you are creating love made visible. Go into your home with the feeling that you are a bridegroom or a bride. And when you handle your money, handle it with the grace of a king who knows that the source of all wealth is the infinite abundance of existence. Your life is the mustard seed. Don't let it stay in the packet. Don't let it stay on the shelf of one day I will be happy. Tear the packet open. Throw yourself into the tilled earth of life. Risk the rain, risk the sun, risk the wind, because only through that risk will you find the tree that is hidden within you. And remember, as you grow, the birds of heaven will come. People will be attracted to your light. They will be attracted to your success. They will be attracted to your joy. Do not push them away. Give them shelter. Share your richness. The more birds that sing in your branches, the more beautiful your tree becomes. This is the shocking truth about Jesus. He didn't want a religion. He wanted a celebration. He didn't want followers. He wanted fellow travelers. He didn't want you to carry a cross. He wanted you to dance with him at the wedding. So let us end this meeting not with a prayer of petition, but with a prayer of yes. Let your whole life be a yes. Let your bank account be a yes. Let your meditation be a yes. If you haven't yet, make sure to subscribe to join this global movement of Zorba the Buddhas. Click that join button to support our community at a deeper level, and use the super thanks feature to show your appreciation for this light. And most importantly, get our life-changing ebooks to continue your transformation long after this video ends. You are rich. You are divine. You are the miracle. The bridegroom is here. The wine is poured. The dance is starting. What are you waiting for? Goodbye, my friends. I will see you in the next moment of your awareness. I will see you in the next flowering of your soul. I will see you in the marketplace, and I will see you in the silence. Stay rich, stay whole, stay in your yes. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for growing. The world is waiting for your fragrance. Go and give it. And remember, every time you like, comment and share, you are helping us turn the water of the world into the wine of consciousness. Be the mustard tree. Be the Homo novus. Be the rich Jesus you were always meant to be.